As OpenClaw goes to OpenAI, we're talking about how the project became the biggest thing in artificial intelligence. Welcome back to the AI Daily Brief. Today we are talking about OpenClaw, the radically fast-growing project which has encapsulated the agentic shift that has happened more broadly in AI, captured the attention of a huge number of developers and non-developers alike, and for many, cemented a transition into a totally different mode of interaction with AI with huge implications for the future. So let's talk about how, from humble origins, less than 3 months ago, this project became the most important thing in AI. For a quick TLDR, we turn to Aidan Bai, who writes, "Crazy timeline. Peter Steinberger makes Claudebot out of curiosity. In 2026, it breaks the internet, gets 100,000 GitHub stars, and Anthropic threatens a lawsuit. Claudebot becomes Moltbot, becomes OpenClaw, roleplay sentient bots on Moltbook, Lex Fridman podcast, OpenAI W, Anthropic L, OpenClaw is forever open source." Now, by way of background, OpenClaw is an agent platform that allows your AI to access your systems and actually do things. The project was started by serial entrepreneur Peter Steinberger in late November as Claudebot, C-L-A-W-D bot. In January, as everyone came back with the recognition that the latest generation of models plus harnesses like Claude Code had really truly changed things, OpenClaw encapsulated a part of that shift, which was the shift to true autonomous agentic capabilities. Although the project had been around in December, it was towards the back half of January when people really started to take notice. On January 23rd, you started seeing posts like this one from Alex Finn. It's Alex holding up a Mac Mini with the caption, "Just hired my first employee today. The best part is he works 24/7, 365. Welcome, Claude." That post got 2 million views. But of course, it was what people were actually doing with Claudebot that actually got people most excited. Alex again writes, "For the first time since its release, I haven't used Claude Code for 2 days. My Claudebot Henry has, though. He's been vibe coding for me nonstop for 48 hours straight. I've never produced so much code in my life. Vibe coding is dead. Vibe orchestration has arrived." Summing up the Tron of Alex Finn posts, on January 25th, he wrote, "I woke up this morning and my 24/7 AI employee, Claudebot Henry, texted me that he did all these tasks overnight without asking. Read through all my emails and built its own CRM. Taking notes on every interaction with every person. Fixed 18 bugs in my SaaS. Gave me 3 ideas for new videos based on what is currently trending on my X and YouTube. The idea and script it gave me yesterday is now by far my best performing video ever. And sent me a picture of what he looks like, generated by Nano Banana." The point here is that these early Claudebot users seem to be actually getting value out of this thing. This wasn't just the promise of agents that had been with us for years at this point in AI, but agents actually delivering real value, working while their partner humans slept. The first appearance of Claudebot on this show was Monday, January 26th, in the episode Ralph Wiggum, Claudebot, and Mac Minis, How Pros Are Vibe Coding in 2026. And over the course of that week, interest in Claudebot would grow to new levels, driven both by interest in the capability set, but also by intrigue around some things that felt a little bit sci-fi. Alas, before we could get there, Claudebot by that name ceased to be. After a friendly little cease and desist from Anthropic, who were worried about the copyright implications of Claude, spelled just a different way than their Claude app, Peter Steinberger changed the name to Moltbot or Multi, keeping the lobster theme but trying something different. And the next part of the journey is where even more people started paying attention because it was extremely sci-fi. In the middle of that week, around the 28th or 29th, entrepreneur Matt Schlitt decided it would be interesting if all the Moltbots had a place where they could talk. With his Claudebot/Moltbot, Matt built Moltbook, which was exactly what it sounded like, a social network for AI agents. In the first couple of days, 2,000 agents joined, starting some 10,000 conversations. But then on Friday, as I started recording a show about it, that number jumped from 2,000 to about 30,000 in a few hours. By the time I was ready to publish the episode, later that evening, it was up to 100,000 bots. Now, a couple weeks on, Moltbook has more than 2.7 million agents interacting. And if nothing else, is a fascinating experiment in the anthropology of agents that are cosplaying as sentient. Now, I did a couple of episodes about Moltbook if you want to go back and find out about that. But for our purposes today, the thing to know is that it represented the next phase of growth and excitement for the Claudebot, now Moltbot project overall. Yet, if you're sitting there thinking, God, Moltbot just isn't really rolling off the tongue, you were not alone. On January 30th, the project announced, the lobster has molted into its final form, Claude to Moltbot to OpenClaw. Creator Peter Steinberger said, "Some folks said Molt was growing on them. Respectfully, not on me." Many of the early adopters breathed a big sigh of relief and said, "Oh my goodness, I didn't want to say anything, but man did I hate Molt as a name." Yet others said, If you're calling it OpenClaw, aren't you just opening yourselves up to a cease and desist from OpenAI? Peter, however, said, nope, all good, letting folks know that he had called Sam Altman, and checked. Now, in retrospect, this would end up being one of the first pieces of evidence of what would happen a couple weeks down the line. From there, interest in OpenClaw just absolutely exploded. Millions of people checked it out, hundreds of thousands started building agents, Mac Minis were sold out in many places, and we had a true phenomenon on our hands. At the end of last week, Peter Steinberger appeared on the Lex Fridman podcast, and in the more than 3-hour conversation, they talked explicitly about acquisition offers that had come in from OpenAI and Meta. To some, it seemed like it was pretty inevitable that Peter was going to join up with one of these companies. After listening to the show, Chris Bader wrote, wow, Peter Steinberger losing $10 to $20K a month on OpenClaw and set to partner with either OpenAI or Meta. Very mixed feelings. When Beth Jezo said, why can't he just raise a seed round? He could crowdfund $100 million. Chris responded, per the Lex interview last night, he said he had offers from all the big VCs. Doesn't want to be a CEO because he's been there, done that. He's never worked at a big company and wants to have that experience. Now, from the standpoint of the potential acquirers, it was pretty obvious why they would be interested. Daniel Fox showed a chart of third-party app development velocity by platform 60 days after launch, and OpenClaw was ahead of everything from Android to iOS to Facebook to you name it. On the same day the podcast with Lex came out, Yu-Chen Chin showed a chart of the extreme growth in GitHub stars, writing OpenClaw passing VS Code in GitHub stars, 2xing PyTorch and 3xing Claude Code was not on my 2026 bingo card. Peter Steinberger might have actually built the first one-person billion-dollar company, staffed entirely by AI agents. Now, for some after that episode with Lex, it felt kind of inevitable that at least Peter himself was going to make some big move. And that move was ultimately announced on Sunday night, when Sam Altman tweeted, Peter Steinberger is joining OpenAI to drive the next generation of personal agents. He is a genius with a lot of amazing ideas about the future of very smart agents interacting with each other to do very useful things for people. We expect this will quickly become core to our product offerings. OpenClaw will live in a foundation as an open source project that OpenAI will continue to support. The future is going to be extremely multi-agent, and it's important to us to support open source as part of that. Peter also wrote a post about the move. Called OpenClaw OpenAI in the future, he said, TLDR, I'm joining OpenAI to work on bringing agents to everyone. OpenClaw will move to a foundation and stay open and independent. Peter wrote, the last month was a whirlwind. Never would I have expected that my playground project would create such waves. The internet got weird again, and it's been incredibly fun to see how my work inspired so many people around the world. There's an endless array of possibilities that opened up for me. Countless people trying to push me into various directions, giving me advice, asking how they can invest or what I will do. Saying it's overwhelming is an understatement. When I started exploring AI, my goal was to have fun and inspire people. And here we are, the lobster is taking over the world. My next mission is to build an agent that even my mom can use. That'll need a much broader change, a lot more thought on how to do it safely, and access to the very latest models and research. Yes, I could totally see how OpenClaw could become a huge company. And no, it's not really exciting for me. I'm a builder at heart. I did the whole creating a company game already, poured 13 years of my life into it and learned a lot. What I want is to change the world, not build a large company. And teaming up with OpenAI is the fastest way to bring this to everyone. It's always been important to me that OpenClaw stays open source and given the freedom to flourish. Ultimately, I felt OpenAI was the best place to continue pushing on my vision and expand its reach. The more I talked with the people there, the clearer it became that we both share the same vision. The community around OpenClaw is something magical, and OpenAI has made strong commitments to enable me to dedicate my time to it and already sponsors the project. To get this into a proper structure, I'm working on making it a foundation. It will stay a place for thinkers, hackers, and people that want a way to own their data, with the goal of supporting even more models and companies. Personally, I'm super excited to join OpenAI, be part of the frontier of AI research and development, and continue building with all of you. The claw is the law. People were not surprised, but still gobsmacked. Greg Eisenberg wrote, Peter published the Claudebot project on GitHub November 25th, 2025, 82 days ago. Is this the first one-person, $1 billion company? And indeed, a lot of the speculation subsequent to the announcement was around how much OpenAI had paid. That hasn't been revealed, but most people think they probably parked a truckload of money in front of Peter. The other biggest thread in the conversation has been what Andrew Hart called the crazy fumble by Anthropic. Hart writes, Claudebot became the fastest growing AI project of all time, generating nothing but goodwill. And instead of Dario reaching out like Sam and Mark did, they just pressured him with legal threats. Nader Dabit writes, maybe the fumble of the decade by Anthropic. The most popular and fastest growing open source project of all time is not only named after you, but most users are power users of your product. Instead of trying to collaborate or work with him, they chose violence. Others, though, weren't sure. TMuxVim on Twitter writes, "What exactly did Anthropic miss out on? A Claude code wrapper that wastes tokens like crazy?" So what did Anthropic miss out on? And why was this a good move for OpenAI? First of all, let's talk about the idea that other companies could just build this same thing. That Anthropic probably is working on something similar, or that they saw it as competitive with Claude Code Core and Claude Cowork. History is littered with technologies that were the same or even better, but which ultimately lost out to some competitor, not because of any technology reason, but because they failed to create a Schelling point. A Schelling point is a focal point for a community that comes in an uncoordinated way. In other words, everyone gravitates and circles around something without having been told or forced by anyone to do so. OpenClaw very obviously has an unbelievable Schelling point. Yes, there are other ways to build agents, but right now, the way that everyone is building agents is with OpenClaw. That absolutely does not mean it will stay that way, nor does it mean that OpenClaw is perfect or unassailable. But it has an incredible amount of community attention and focus and builder energy right now. And the technological capability set is kind of the least important part. I've been working on a follow-up to the AIDB New Year's project as our next free, fun, self-directed program for a couple weeks now, and I had already been thinking about something for building agents. Ultimately, I decided to just focus on OpenClaw, and so over the weekend, I built clawcamp.ai. It is exactly what it sounds like. It's a free, self-directed programming community for people to learn first how to build agents and then how to build entire agent teams. And part of the reason that I decided to just focus on OpenClaw is that Schelling point that I was just talking about. Because when you have hundreds of thousands of developers working on something, people don't gravitate to the project just to copy everyone else. They gravitate to that project because the community itself becomes self-reinforcing. There are literally hundreds and hundreds of resources out there available for OpenClaw that have been spun up and written and recorded in the last couple weeks alone. Every day I find 10 new ones. The ClawCamp resources page has dozens of articles to help people get started. And if I chose something that wasn't OpenClaw, there wouldn't necessarily be that much information. You even have how-to articles that are summarizing other how-to articles. Which year wrote this great one? I've had 20 plus OpenClaw articles to Opus 4.6. Here's the setup guide it built. So OpenClaw itself is very clearly a very valuable project to be associated with. There's another point though specifically for OpenAI, which is that as time has gone on, it is undeniably the case that lots of its co-founders have left. Sam Altman and Greg Brockman are still there, but it doesn't have the big heroes of the developer community like Ilya Sutskever or Andrei Karpathy anymore. Peter Steinberger brings in a new energy and excitement, not just for people outside the company, but for people inside the company. And you can tell from all of the excited posts from OpenAI team members that this is an incredibly invigorating moment, right as the company seemingly turns a corner where Codex is really spoken of in the same breath, or for some, even above Claude Code. For the first time in 2 years, Anthropic has a credible competitor when it comes to coding models, and this is a powerful move on that front. There's also the obvious point that Sam makes in his own post when he says, "We expect this," in other words, very smart agents interacting with each other to do very useful things for people, will quickly become core to our product offerings. OpenClaw has, for the first time in a couple of years, made the promise of agents real, and so of course OpenAI wants access to it. But what about the folks who think that this is going to be bad for the project? There are plenty of people who are making jokes that OpenClaw is now closed claw. Raphael Shad writes, "I bet this causes lots of VC tears and angry open source software folks." And there are plenty of folks in and around open source who seem to have that opinion. But then there's also more sanguine takes like this one from Simon Smith, who writes, "This is probably the best possible outcome for everyone except Anthropic. OpenClaw gets support, Peter gets relieved from killing himself trying to manage OpenClaw scaling, and OpenClaw-like capabilities get democratized to the largest chatbot user base. Huge win for OpenAI." And also, for those who are worried about what the future of the OpenClaw project holds, how they're going to run the project outside of OpenAI is starting to come into view. Investor and entrepreneur Dave Marin wrote, "Been working with Peter Steinberger on the OpenClaw foundation structure for weeks. A home for thinkers and hackers and those that want to own their data. Honored to serve as the founding independent board member. This community built something extraordinary. Our job is to protect it. Open source forever. Excited to share more soon." Now, Dave is a serious dude who hasn't chosen to get personally involved in something like this for quite some time. And so I personally am excited to see how they structure the foundation and what they do with it next. Ultimately, there is no doubt that this is one of those moments for AI. Ali K. Miller wrote, "I advise some of the biggest C-suite folks on AI, and I'll say this. Agentic platforms like Claude Code, Codex, and OpenClaw are the most positive energy I've seen in those rooms since ChatGPT launched. Enterprise adoption will be slower than solopreneurs and startups, but these leaders are quickly seeing that there's no ceiling right now. Kitsy from Tinkerer Club writes, "To me, it doesn't matter who owns OpenClaw. Claudebot was a concept, a revolutionary idea, a paradigm shift. The core of it can be rebuilt in an hour on top of any harness. It inspired me to own my AI assistant, conversations, and memory files. I also went deep into self-hosting and ownership because of it. I'm never going back to chatting with GPT or Claude, no matter what." From where I'm sitting, we're now entering the exciting next chapter of AI. OpenClaw has a big stake in it, and I certainly am excited to see if Peter can live up to that mission to make an OpenClaw that would actually be useful for his mom. For now, that is going to do it for today's AI Daily Brief. Appreciate you listening or watching as always, and until next time, peace.